welcome back to another episode of Mountain Road Ride. And today we are here in Philadelphia for the Philly Bike Expo. So I'm excited to see what is on show here today, because if there's one thing that I enjoy just as much as riding my bike, it is nerding out on other bikes. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see some pretty cool stuff available today. And with a bike expo like this one, it is a bit more custom, sort of your handcrafted, unique bikes that are on offer. So I'm excited to check out those bikes today. Let's get out on the showroom and see what's available. All right, so we're here with Beth from Frontier Bikes. Now this is a very unique bike behind us. For the single speed riders out there, you are gonna love this one. This is a mixture of a bunch of really good components on this bike. I love this thing. We're gonna let Beth talk us through this. Let's first start off with the frame. So this is a frame designed and built by yourself. Talk us through the geometry a little bit on this bike and what we see, especially also with that very unique dropout there at the back.
Yeah. So the geometry of the bike is, as you can see, a more pursuit geometry. You have a little bit steeper C-tube angle. You've got that slanted top tube, put you in a more aerodynamic position for shorter sprint style gravel races. You have gravel tire clearance on the front and the back, tubeless setup for all your gravel needs. The dropouts are actually angled, and if you think about having, adjusting your wheel as you change your gearage in the back, you can, if you move your sliders, your wheel back, it sort of raises the bike up and forward.
Yeah.
And then if you put the wheel in, it brings that geo back and lowers your bottom bracket height. So that's sort of the idea behind that. And then
the other big feature is this unique handlebar. I want to get to this as well, because that's sort of a big eye catcher, I think, when you walk past this bike, is this very unique design on the handlebar. So tell us a little bit about that.
The handlebars, first of all, are made, they're also steel, as well as the stem itself. It's a 7/8 diameter, clamp diameter. The idea on the design is to put you in a position that makes you feel like you're riding in your hoods on a drop bar setup, but make you more aerodynamic and put some time trial brakes on the end, so that when you're in an aerodynamic position, you're right there and able to brake as fast as you can. But the design is one of a kind. Yeah. They're built by Btchn Bikes, Tyler Ricewig in Chico, California. He handmade these, brazed them. There's some flair to them, just like regular drop bars. They're reversible, so you can, if you want to be a little bit more upright, you can bring flip them and have some rise.
Cool.
So they're versatile, for sure.
Excellent. I love this, and the addition of the SRAM time trial.
Those are the S900s.
Brakes. Yeah,
hydraulic brakes.
Very neat. I mean, this is the kind of custom, unique stuff that you see at a Philly Bike Expo. And this is also in partnership with SRAM. So if you tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. SRAM and Philly Bike Expo partnered to provide a scholarship, an inclusivity scholarship, to help diversify the builder community. They want more women, more people of color into the scene. So what that provides scholarship recipients is all travel, all accommodations for the builders that receive the scholarship. SRAM provides any of the build kit parts that you want for your build. They'll provide that free of charge. And of course, just the collaboration on, your backdrop. They provide the booth and fees for that. Everything's covered. It just makes it more approachable for folks who are underrepresented in the builder community.
Excellent, that's wonderful. And so the end game of this is one of the first few creations that you've made.
Yeah.
What is the future plans with Frontier Bikes, and where are you heading?
Well, I also own a bike shop, so we're a service-driven bike shop. So that portion of my business will stay going. But as far as custom frames, orders are open, and I have a couple already. I have a queue of like 6 people in line. So we're just going to do anything from cyclocross, road, gravel, hardtails, on in the future.
Wonderful, I love it. And what a beautiful bike, well done. And also rounded off, all the little details on this bike is just truly exceptional. The wolf tooth components, the pawl component hubs. Whiskey carbon forks, yeah. You can't miss all the details on this thing. This is a very stunning bike. Well done, and thank you for walking through it.
Thank you so much.
All right, so we are here with Rody from Groovy Cycleworks, and behind us there's a really interesting bike. And why don't you tell us a little bit about this bike, some of the components on here, and just the story behind it?
Okay, well, the story actually starts just about 2 weeks ago. Btchn Bilenky, who is the director of this show, gave me a call and said, hey, we've got some cancellations because of the pandemic, and I know you weren't really planning on coming because of that, but would you consider being here? We'd love to have you. And she made me an offer I couldn't refuse. So here I am. The problem was, I told Bina, I said, look, I've only got about 5 days before the show where I can actually fabricate something, and it's gonna have to be whatever I come up with. And she's like, that's okay. We just want you to be there, your spirit to be there, and come to Philly. So that's what we did. So last Sunday, we started on fabrication of this bike. Because of COVID, there are no parts available anywhere. I mean, all of our wholesale distributors, all our original equipment manufacturers have nothing in stock. So I knew that whatever I built would have to be fairly simple, and it would have to be with whatever I have in the shop at the time, because I don't have time to order parts to build into a bicycle. The bike itself was a challenge in fabrication, number one, because of the short amount of time that we had, but number two, because I usually build titanium frames. I haven't done a steel frame in a while, and I didn't have a lot of the typical tubing sizes you need. So to build a steel frame, I started off with the head tube. I didn't have any head tube stock, something that's made specifically for that use. So I took 2 separate pieces of tubing, machined them, press fit them together, welded them together, and made a bilaminate head tube. So that's what allowed me to use an 1.5 inch head tube and then machine in these contoured rings, for a little artistic styling. The rest of the frame is all a mix of different types of alloyed steels. So I have True Temper, Data Chai, and 4130 and Reynolds all mixed into here. Each tube selected for kind of the size to be consistent with the old original bikes, but number two, also for the formability. So because I wanted to create those classic lines, that swoopy look, I use straight gauge 4130 for the top tube and the down tube, and those were rolled in a 3-ring bender and massaged to give us those kind of gentle curves. This is a straight True Temper tube. The rear end of the bike, which has these double compound bends, used a draw bender here and an Enerpack bender here on the 4130 stays to create that. And then the chain stays are from Data Chai, and I created an S-bend contour within an upsweep into the dropout to give it that kind of classic look. Because I didn't have any standard steel dropouts, I hand machined the rear dropouts. So those are machined 4140 plate with then custom rolled hoods over top of it that are welded in place. And that pretty much completes the steel frame. What I wanted to do was create some parts that isolated some of the stiffness and rigidity that steel is kind of known for, and provide some vibration dampening. So every part that your body connects to or touches is made of titanium. So this is a one-off custom titanium fork. The dropouts on this started as a solid bar of 6'4" titanium and were machined down. The plates, were standard rectangular plates that were then contoured to hold the dropouts and attached to the straight bar legs on the unicrown fork. The handlebar, it's kind of a nod back to those BMX moto styles. So that's all 325 titanium on there, and both the bar and the fork and the seat post, which are titanium, have been left raw. So what you see is right off the weld table. Okay, there's no sandblasting to remove contamination or anything like that. So the welds and everything look very, basic right out of the shop, which was kind of the ethos from back in the day as well. The cranks then as well, I've machined those in-house, and those are something unique that I build. Instead of using a splined interface, they actually use a tricoidal polygon. And maybe we can show a little in-depth on that at the end of the interview, if you like. But all of that was manufactured in-house, and then the last thing I had to do was paint it. I do all my paint work in-house as well, and so I picked kind of a fun, vivid, bright, cartoony colors that kind of catch your eye, and give back to some of the elegance of the curves and the intent of the bike, which is just to go out and rip and have a good time.
Yeah, well, I love this because this really shows in a time where there is a shortage of parts, what you can come up with a bit of creativity, and a lot of skill, obviously. So well done on a beautiful bike. I mean, this is fantastic, and I'm sure your daughter's going to love riding around on this, and the bright, upbeat color scheme definitely is going to help her on days when she needs to just be reminded of home.
Right. Yeah. Being in grad school can be a drag. It's a lot of book work, and Morgantown is really hilly. So one of the things that you touched on in the intro was the 2-speed kickback hub.
That's right. Yep.
Because it is fairly hilly, I wanted to give her some gearing that she can tool around town with little ease, but then have a higher gear for jamming down flat areas or on the bike paths as well. So I'm using a Sturmey Archer 2-speed hub. The way that works is it's a typical standard gear when you're pedaling. It's about right now set up with the gear ratio I have. It's about a 50-inch gear ratio. Yeah. When you need a higher gear, you give about a quarter turn back on the cranks, and a planetary gear inside the shell moves over, and it gives a 1.37 increase. So about to a 73-inch gear ratio for when you want to go faster. When your RPMs slow down, then the tension, rotational force is relaxed, and it shifts back to that original gear. Yeah. So better than just a single speed, it gives you a little more versatility for its use.
And then obviously finished off with a very unique saddle up there, the Brooks saddle.
The Brooks saddle is just so classic, and because of its great looks and its long-term comfort, I can overlook the fact that it weighs like a boat anchor, Yeah. Honestly, the cranks, the fork, the handlebar, and the seat post weigh about the same as just the saddle itself.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for walking us through this bike. What a design and what a beautiful thing, especially in the short turnaround that you've put this together. So glad you were at the show. So glad we could catch up with you.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it and look forward to being on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. All right, so we are here with Max from Pratt Cycles. Now, this is a very unique bike behind us. When I saw this on the internet, I figured I have to come and see it for myself. Max, why don't you tell us a little bit about this bike that we see behind us here?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. This is our Oysters Rock gravel bike. It's a batch-produced bike, so the lead time on it is very short. But each and every one is handmade in our shop in Rhode Island. So the lead time is about 2 months. The frame set comes in at $28.50 for a price. And they're really designed to be the ideal multi-surface bicycle. We spent a lot of time fine-tuning the geometry to create a really nice steel gravel bike, and everyone who we've been building them for has been absolutely loving them.
Excellent. And so with this one, I think the beauty for me is this marriage between the old and the new. You've got all the modern day geometry and also the component fitments that you want. We got through axles, we got threaded bottom brackets, integrated headsets, everything that we want. And yet it still has that traditional steel feel to it when riding over those rougher surfaces, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So we really tried to optimize the feeling of the bike to not lose the qualities of steel. A lot of steel frames nowadays are built to sort of be as stiff as carbon bikes, and the carbon bikes are also very stiff. When we do our frame design, we're really trying to fine tune like where we can increase flexibility or shock absorption, make a bike a little bit more compliant, and also reduce the weight. This bike comes in a size run from a 48 through a 58, so in 2 centimeter increments. The geometry chart's online, but essentially most people we ended up building for are getting between a 52 and a 56. Occasionally we have someone who wants a 58. If you're outside of those size ranges, you can send us an email. Because everything's made to order, we have the flexibility to really build. So the model comes as a frame set, and then depending on what the customer wants, they can either build it themselves at home or we can help them build it up. Typically, if they ask us for help, we'll build it with either force or rival axis, because we feel that that's sort of the best in the business as far as gravel riding right now. And the Hunt wheels are a really good option if you're trying to save money and weight on your wheel setup.
This is one very unique bike, and I just love the old school and the new school together, making for one truly unique bike. And you guys are based in Rhode Island. and currently selling direct to the consumer through the online web portal, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we're based out of Rhode Island. You can order everything directly on our website, or if you have questions, the contact page on our website goes right to our email inbox, and we can just get back to you about anything you want to know.
Well, there you go. What a great brand, Pratt Cycles. I really enjoyed checking this one out. Max, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
There were way too many incredible bikes on display at the Philly Bike Expo, and I really wish I could have done a deep dive on all of them. But let's just take a closer look at a few more of the bikes that stood out for me at this expo. I think you really have to check out this beautiful Item 4 bike from Btchn Bikes out of Baltimore in Maryland. Now this one really caught my eye because it was one of the few bikes at the expo that was fitted with Shimano's latest 12-speed Dura-Ace groupset. Up at the front of the bike, you also have to admire that headset badge in the shape of a bishop. It's small little details like this that you find at something like the Philly Bike Expo. There was also this hardtack from Tanglefoot Cycles. Now this one came kitted out with an eye-catching crankset from Ignite Components, and be sure to check out their latest offerings that they have in the gravel market for cranksets. There was also then the matching seat post from Btchn, and the gravel bars were held in place with a chromo 0mm extension stem. That's pretty neat. Untitled Cycles, in collaboration with Bags, were awarded the 2021 People's Choice Award for this truly artistic creation. The design draws inspiration from Sophie Tober-Arp's 1937 painting titled Composition. You'll note how this bike is fully spec'd with the latest SRAM Red Explorer group set, Zips 101 Explorer wheel set, and even the custom painted RockShox Rudy fork. Not to mention the truly unique bags. What a beautiful piece of art. Here's one for the vintage bike lovers. Check out this beautifully restored Colnago, Mexico dating back to the 1970s. Velo Classique modified and re-chromed this frame to create this custom retro modern build. Now with all this lightweight components on there, the total weight for this bike comes in at only 18 pounds or 8.1 kilograms. Exceptional for a steel frame. I just had to include this next frame for some eye candy. Befitting Bicycles had a few super high-end frames at their booth, and this Fesca was just amazing. Fitted with some Princeton Carbon Works wheels and mind-blowingly light the Remo handlebar and seat post. You just can't help but dream about how this thing must ride. Casey Sussman from Mars Cycles and Stephen Bilenky, the founder of the Philly Bike Expo, collaborated to create some truly unique bikes under the Junkyard Cats brand. The Mars Cycles and Junkyard's Cats booth was one of the biggest at the expo, containing loads of fascinating bikes. It was hard to pick one to single out, but I really did enjoy staring at this model that came fitted with a White Industries crankset and also the highly rated All Components mechanical brake calipers. This is the kind of unique touches that make the custom bike market so special. Alright, so that brings us to the end of our trip through the Philly Bike Expo. Hopefully you enjoyed this as much as I did. What a fun day of nerding out on some really cool and unique bikes. And to top it all off, we get to now collect our bikes from free indoor parking. That's a big bonus when you come to a bike expo, I guess. But I hope you enjoy this trip through viewing all these incredible bikes and seeing some of the builders along the way. If you did, please be sure to hit that like button and do also subscribe to our channel. We'll be back in the future with lots more cycling related content here on Mountain Road Ride. Until next time, enjoy your ride.